Good day, everyone. This is So Selects, and I'll be doing a little bit of talking in my car. I spend a lot of time in my car, so I don't know, it helps me think. Yeah, I work in my car. But I have a question for everyone that's watching this video today. How many of you have tried to make changes in your life? And I'm not just talking about little changes. I'm talking about big changes, like, for example, weight loss or anger management, or even getting out of apathy. Like, you feel so apathetic that you can't get anything done for yourself. Now, let me tell you, you're not the only one. Thousands and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are going through the same exact thing. And there's a reason for that. And really it's quite simple. The problem is nobody ever took the time to teach us these things. We didn't learn them in school, that's for sure. And what it is we have programs. We're all programmed. Everybody, every single one of us has been programmed. We all have different types of programs running in us. Now, some of these programs can be laziness. Some of these can be greed, ambition. I'm not saying ambition is bad, but too much of it can be. Cheating, lying, deceiving. There's so many things, and the majority of these programs aren't good programs. They hinder us. They make us backtrack. They make us sluggish. They make us slow, and they don't allow us to accomplish anything positive in our life. And I'll give you examples. So these programs are the basis of our life. Whatever program you may have in you, and here's the sadder thing about it all, like, you have no idea. A lot of you have no idea that you're running these programs. And the best way that I can explain it to you is like this. When you have your phone and your phone starts to discharge rather quickly, you're always wondering, why is my phone dying so fast? And a lot of times it can be simply because there's an app that is running on your phone 24/7 without your permission, and it's causing the phone to drain the battery quicker. Now, the same goes with you. The same goes with your life. You have these programs, and sometimes you say, I don't want to be like this anymore. I want to stop. I want to change my life. I want to change the way that I act. Why am I always angry? Why am I always tired? Why am I always lazy? You know, you get put in like bad situations all the time. Remember that whatever your name is, you have complete and most utter control of your life. Everything. From the moment you wake up, you determine if you're going to have a good day or a bad day. It's all in your hands. It's not even in your hands. It's all in your mind. Furthermore, it's all in your subconscious. Whatever you have programmed subconsciously, that is the program that you're going to play out throughout your day. So again, like I said, sometimes you have no idea that these programs are running in your life, but you always wonder, why do I get this far and then I have to go back and start over again? Like, let's say you get a job. You've had a bad job history. You get a job and you get fired the first week. You go out, you get another job, and you get fired the first week again. And it's the same recurring problem over and over and over again. And you ask why. Well, there's a reason for that. And asking why, if you don't ask why, then this isn't for you. But if you are asking why, that's the start. That's the start. That's a good start. So whatever your environment is, let's say you grew up in a very dangerous or harmful environment as a child. Maybe you grew up in an abusive family, or you got bullied at school, or whatever happened. You had a cousin that would always pick on you, or whatever it is. Whatever you went through as a child. Maybe you had a great childhood. Maybe you had an amazing childhood. So perhaps your life can be better off than most. But if your childhood wasn't that great, that's where it begins. Because whatever you were programmed to believe as a child, that's what you believe as a grown-up. If you had parents that told you, oh, you can't do anything right, then guess what? You grow up believing that you cannot do anything right. So as you get older, when you start doing things, you yourself begin to doubt yourself. I'm not gonna do this right. We are our own worst critic, and that's the reason why, because we have that in us. It's already embedded in our brains. So now these programs that are running, they're controlling that. If you want to be successful, whatever program that's anti-success in your brain is gonna run, and that's the one that's gonna take charge of your life. So you're not gonna gain success. So how do you fix these things? First of all, you have to forget everything. And what I mean by that is you have to erase the most deepest inner thoughts that you have within you and remove them. You have to get rid of all of that. Now that sounds hard. Yes, it is, because if you tell yourself, perfect example would be New Year's resolutions. We're about to enter a new year. 2021 is upon us. And just like every other year, people start bringing out New Year's resolutions. Now, what is the success rate of a New Year's resolution? I gotta be quite honest with you, I don't believe it's 100%. I don't even believe it's 50%. But the reason is because of that. Let's say you say, my New Year's resolution, I'm gonna lose 20 pounds this year, so I could fit into that outfit. Girls that could fit into that dress. I want that beach body. This year I'm gonna work on my beach body. Whatever your New Year's resolution may be. I'm gonna stop drinking soda. I'm gonna stop smoking. Whatever that may be. Enter 2021, January 1st. A lot of you give up on the first week. A lot of you don't even make it past the first day. Why? Because you forgot. Sometimes it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It really isn't. And that's the thing. We tend to be so hard on ourselves. If we mess up the New Year's resolution, what happens? We go in a frenzy, like, I didn't do it this year. Who cares? I'm just gonna let myself go and I'll try again next year. Why wait a year? The reason for that is you have that program running without your permission 24/7 that wants you, because you already know, you've already been accustomed to smoke that cigarette when you first get up in the morning. Whatever habits you have, you're already accustomed to it. So that program that makes that happen is running 24/7, and all you're trying to do is cover it up. Kind of like on your computer when that little paper clip comes up, right? Do you need any help? And you click it away, but it comes back. And it keeps coming back no matter how many times you click on it. Or ads on the internet. It's the same thing. That program keeps popping up. And you can't do anything about it, because you have to know that your subconscious and your conscious do not work together. They don't go hand in hand. I know there are a lot of studies out there, or even in school, I believe they told us that if whatever your mind does or whatever your mind thinks, your body will follow. That's not true. You need to forget that. You need to forget that and completely discard that from your brain, because that is not true. And that's the example. Let's say you say, I'm not going to smoke a cigarette today. out through the whole day, and but you want it. Like, it's not easy, right? You're still thinking about that cigarette, and guess what? You give in. You give in. You had the cigarette and you beat yourself up for it. That happens most of the time. Same thing with eating. Oh, I'm not gonna eat fast food today. Oh, I'm not gonna eat that donut today. Or I'm not gonna eat this today. But you still end up doing it. And it's because what controls your life is your subconscious, not your conscious. Consciously, you're telling yourself that you're not gonna do those things, but subconsciously, it happens because, once again, what's controlling your life is your subconscious. You've been programmed to do things without even thinking about it, effortlessly, right? In Hinduism, they have a saying: do less to accomplish more, and ultimately do nothing to accomplish everything. Now, that at first seems nearly impossible, but when you start to learn about how things work, it becomes rather simple. At the moment, whatever it is your life is playing out, that's what that means. You have already done nothing to accomplish everything, because you grabbing that cigarette took no effort. You did it without any effort. You didn't have to think about it. You just driving by, you see a liquor store, 7-Eleven, or a gas station, and you just drive in there with no effort. You walk in there with no effort. You buy a pack of cigarettes, and you open the pack and you put the cigarette and you start smoking it. It took you no effort, right? There were no inconveniences. You just did it. So you want the same. The same for the negative is also there for the positive. Whatever you want to accomplish positively, you can do it the same way. You just need to erase the bad so that you can fill in the good. How do we do this? How do we accomplish these things? How do we fix these things? It sounds hard, right? How do you dig deep? How do you go into your subconscious and erase all the bad? You know, it sounds like a very difficult thing, and it is. It is if you make it difficult. And one of the things that I'll tell you, it's not a quick process. But just remember, the same way that you didn't pick up a smoking habit in one day, all the good habits are the same. They say it takes 7 days to create a habit. So it's not gonna come easy. It's all on you. But if you try this, I can assure you that it will become easier for you. I was depressed for about 3 years. Split up with baby's moms. The situation, separation from my sons is what led to the depression. But it took me about up until last year to kind of start to become normal again, if I even know what normal me is. But my mom passed away last year, and after her passing, I feel that that made me stronger, and decided to put myself back on the right path and back on track with my life. I started to listen to positive affirmations. So the way these positive affirmations work is you're auto-hypnotizing yourself. And I don't know if you've done any research on hypnosis, but what it does is it puts you in a theta state of mind, which theta is that moment when you're waking up from your sleep and everything is blurry and you kind of like trying to make things out. In movies when somebody wakes out of a coma and it just looks blurry and they're like, oh, where am I? That state of mind, you're kind of like in I don't know, like in dreamland or whatever. That is theta. And the reason why the positive affirmations work is as you're waking up and you're listening to that, all of that is more real. It's like if you were listening to it all night, and you were listening to the positive affirmation on weight loss, and it's just talking to you about losing weight. As you're waking up and you're still listening to that positive affirmation, you're gonna remember all of that. It's gonna come forward, and you're gonna just remove all that other stuff, and then you're just gonna wake up on that new strain of thought. Now, whatever music service or app you have, like, you could even download specific apps for this type of stuff. But let's say, YouTube Music or Spotify, look up positive affirmations, and they can be for anything you want. They can be for weight loss, they could be for anger management, they could be for confidence. If you lack confidence, they can be for anything. Just think of anything. Whatever issue you feel that you have and that you really want to work on, then that's the one you look for. And it's simple. You just play it while you sleep. You could use earphones or headphones and just go to sleep while that's playing. So you do that. You play these positive affirmations. You can play them throughout the day. You can play them all the time, anytime you want. These positive affirmations start to become embedded in your brain, and they start to remove all the bad, because now it's all positive, right? So you're removing all the negative with the positive. You're just cramming it out. But you have to flood yourself with positivity. Don't just stop there. You need to start acting more positive too. You need to take a lot of words from your vocabulary that hurt you. Maybe is not a good word to have in your vocabulary. The word hope is not a good word to have in your vocabulary. Hope is a terrible word to have in your vocabulary. Now, I know a lot of you religious or spiritual people, hope has nothing to do with your religion nor your faith. If you have faith, there should be no room for hope. It's simple as that. So no matter where you try to fit in the word hope, it does not work. It will never work. You need to start taking these weak words out of your vocabulary, and you need to affirm yourself that you will do things, that you must do things, and you expect things to change. You expect things to happen. Maybe things will happen. Of course, maybe things will always happen. It's not a strong word to use. You just need to pay attention. You need to be observant. And here's the thing. As you do this, you will learn more about yourself. You'll become more conscious about the things you're doing consciously, the things you're saying consciously, and the way you're acting consciously. These are all things that you need to pay attention to. Why is it that we know more about a sports team than we know about our own life? Sometimes you eat something and you get sick, and you keep eating that same thing and you get sick. Every time you eat that, you get sick. Don't you think that you would want to stop that? You don't want to feel sick, right? I hope you don't. I hope you don't. I'm sure you don't. I'm sure you don't like to feel sick. I know you don't like to feel sick. So why put yourself through that torture? We need to learn about us. We don't take the time to learn about us. We know nothing about us. Maybe a lot of people do, but the majority do not know. You need to find out what makes you happy. A lot of times we allow externally or we expect things externally to make us happy. We want the world around us to make us happy, and that's the only way we'll feel happy. If the external things around us make us happy. But internally, what makes you happy? Inside of you, what brings you joy, what brings you peace? And we don't know these things. when you have a significant other, you tend to learn so much about that person. You want to know everything about that person. Their favorite color, their favorite food, their favorite place, their favorite time of day. You want to know everything about that person. But what about you? And then let's say that person doesn't take the time to learn about you the same way you learn about that person. You start to get discouraged, and you tend to like kind of not like that anymore, right? Because you're expecting something. You're expecting that whatever you do for that person will do for you. You're expecting the reciprocation. And a lot of times we cannot do that. You're not supposed to expect the reciprocation, because the things that you do, whether it be helping somebody, loving somebody, caring for somebody, giving to somebody, whatever it may be, that alone, the act of you doing those things is supposed to bring you the satisfaction or the joy or the happiness you're looking for. So we need to learn about us. We need to learn each other. And when you start to do these things, when you start to put positive affirmation, when you start to reprogram yourself, you start to learn these things about yourself. Things start to change. And then you yourself will be more aware of external people. Like if this person is here to hurt you, if this person is just here to take from you, or if this person is just not a good person to have in your life, because you already know how you feel around that person. You already know that if you come around this person, you already start to feel that bad vibe, right? Or if you go into a certain place, you start to feel this bad vibe. And most of the time when you feel that vibe, you should go with that vibe. You should take that. You shouldn't let others, like I said, you shouldn't let the external determine what you feel internally. So does it work? Does what I'm telling you, does that work? Now, like going back to, I was depressed for about 3 years. I started to listen to positive affirmations in my sleep about a year ago, a little more, not more than a year ago. And at first, it's like I said, it's difficult because you're not in the habit, right? You're not used to doing that. So it takes some time to get it going. But after getting in the habit and doing it every day and getting accustomed to that and just doing it and doing it and doing it, yes, it works. It works. Now, I haven't lost 100 pounds in a year that I've been doing it because I don't exercise. It's hard for me to exercise. I make it a thing where I don't exercise, right? We all have the time. We just don't make the time. And unfortunately, as of now, I'm not making the time to exercise. But a lot of other things have happened effortlessly. And that is, my eating habits have changed. I used to eat big meals. I'm not a big guy. I'm an enormous guy. I'm huge. But throughout this quarantine, I didn't get bigger. I didn't gain weight. I didn't. And it's because of that. Because I already noticed that effortlessly, my eating habits have changed. Before, I would eat big meals. It was the 3 meals a day, right? It was a big breakfast, a big lunch, and a big dinner. And now I found myself doing the intermittent fasting certain days of the week without even noticing. I'll eat 1 meal a day and then that's it. Like I won't need to eat the rest of the day. You cannot overeat. That's one of the things that you have to remember. This whole eating 3 times a day thing is not the correct way of eating. I have this belief that we haven't been taught how to eat in this country. Therefore, we don't know how to eat. We don't know how to nourish ourselves. You know, there's a big difference between eating and nourishment. And eating, yeah, we can eat, right? We can all eat. But we don't know how to nourish our bodies correctly when we eat. And that's why we have such a big obesity problem in this world. But again, I didn't eat fruits, and now I find myself going to fruits more than going to McDonald's. I stopped drinking coffee. Coffee is bad. Shouldn't be drinking a lot of coffee if you do. I drink matcha. Yeah, people tell me, you still caffeine. Yes, but it's a different form of it. It's different. The coffee bean and a tea leaf are two different things that not only because they contain caffeine, you know, it's like soda. Soda has caffeine. So, you know, I'm not saying it's good, obviously not, but soda has caffeine, so you could choose a Coca-Cola, you could choose coffee, or you could use matcha. What he gonna go for? You know? But the changes come effortlessly is what I'm getting at. The way I think is different. Before, you know, I used to ask, how can one think before they respond, right? They always say, think about what you're gonna say before you say anything. How can you do that when like answers to most of us come like that instantaneously, like at the speed of light? Maybe somebody's not even done saying what they're gonna say, but you already know what to say. I think a lot. So imagine when somebody asks me a question, and if I thought about my answer every single time I replied, I'd be stuck there for like a minute thinking about what I'm gonna say, because I'm thinking about all the possible outcomes to my response. It's too analytical, right? So that was difficult for me to comprehend. Like, how can I think before I act, or think before I say? But that's one of those things that needs to be done effortlessly, because it's one of those things that we need to do subconsciously, but they never taught us how to do it, so we don't know how to do it. At least I didn't know how to do it. And that's where my mind is now. That's how it's working now. Things that I didn't think about before are there. I'm thinking about them, and I'm able to do them without any effort whatsoever. Like drinking coffee. I used to drink, I don't know, 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day. No sugar, no milk, just straight black coffee. And for a lot of people that are heavy coffee drinkers, it's one of the hardest things to quit. It's one of the hardest things to let go. I'm Salvadorian. That's like tradition. And don't let me get into traditions, but traditionally, as a Central American, coffee is one of the biggest things in your household. Coffee and bread. I don't eat bread as much as I used to anymore. I love bread. And it's not like I'm putting myself through that torture where, no, you gotta stop eating bread. No, it just happens naturally. I was thinking the other day, why do diets fail? Is it because it's a bad diet? Because it's not a good enough diet? Why do exercise plans work? Is it because it wasn't a great exercise plan? No. Those infomercials you see with these machines, they all have the potential to work. But why don't they work? The reason why they don't work, diets don't work, or you fail at your diet, is simple. You are trying to put your body in a state of like a shock, and you're putting yourself through a torture that mentally, physically, and emotionally you cannot take. You cannot take that torture. Like let's give an example with diets, right? Let's say you're on a diet and you love to eat a lot of things, right? Like meats, whatever it is, you like to eat these things. If you put yourself on a diet, that means that you will prevent yourself from eating something. Like, it's like if your mom tells you don't go in that room, and you go in that room and you get smacked. That's what you're doing to yourself. Now, if you didn't like your mom doing that to you, why would you like yourself doing that to you? So you cannot take that. Psychologically, you cannot take that torture too long. At some point, You're gonna cave in and you're gonna break and you're gonna say, screw this diet, I'm done. I don't want to diet. Or it's the same for anything, exercise plans and any other thing that you want to get done. It's the same thing. It works the same way. Now, that's not good, right? That's not a good thing. Why would you torture yourself? There's no need to do that to yourself. You need to love yourself. You need to be loving. And through doing these positive affirmations and changing the way you think internally, subconsciously, once again, you start to do things effortlessly. The choices you make, eating choices, or life decisions you make, all of that, it starts to change. You start to think clearly. You start to see things differently. And it's all part of that, because you're starting to let go of negativity. Just picture negativity as a cloud. You know, if I'm driving right now and I have all this negativity and it's a cloud, it's gonna impair my vision. I'm not gonna be able to see where I'm going. And when you start to remove all of that negativity from inside of you, that cloud starts to disperse. You know that song? I can see clearly now, the rain is gone, right? I can see all obstacles in my way. It's true, but you need to remove the fog. You need to remove the cloud from within you first, so that you can start seeing things with a better light. If that doesn't happen within you, you're still gonna live miserably. Anything will attack you. Anything will disrupt your happiness, so to speak, because you think you're happy, but you're only happy externally. Let's be real. Most of the happiness out here right now, it's an external happiness. It's not an internal happiness. It's not something that you really feel deep down inside. And I'm not just telling you this because I think I know these things. I've lived a lot of these things. I come from a very angry stepfather life. You know, my father was very authoritative, and I couldn't do a lot of things. A lot of like freedoms were taken from me. Like I would go out and play, and it would be behind his back, so to speak, like hidden, you know, in secret. All the things that I would do behind his back. And that's terrible. That's a terrible way to live. It's terrible. How can anybody live that way? So I come from a long life of that. And I would tell myself growing up, I don't want to be like my father when I grow up. I never want to be like him when I grow up. And what happens? How many of you have said the same thing? I don't want to be like my mom. I don't want to be like my dad. How many of you have said that to yourself? And you end up being just what you don't want to. It happens. It really does. But you can change that, and you have the power to change it. You can't just give up and say, oh, well, this is how I was brought up, so I'm going to bring up my kids the same way, and I'm going to be the same way my dad was, or the same way my mom was. No, you have to stop that. Why continue in a vicious cycle? If you don't break that cycle, then you will never taste the success that's out there for you. A lot of the changes that I'm making in my life, they're not just for me, they're for my sons. I want to break that cycle, and that's why I decided to do all these things. And you can break that cycle too. But you must start. You must start somewhere. And the longer you sit there and say, I'm going to do it today, or I'm going to do it tomorrow, and you don't do it, the longer it's going to take, because it's not a quick process. You're not just going to wake up the next day and, oh, you're a new man, or you're a new woman. No, it takes time. Everything takes time. Everything takes time and patience. And what are some of the differences in me? I thought I was a patient man. I swear. People would tell me that. Oh, you have so much patience. And I'm like, yes, I do. No, I didn't. Now, if I look back, now I can say I have patience. I have a lot more patience. And I'm gonna give you examples. I've been an aggressive driver for a long time, especially Los Angeles. Kind of requires you to be one because there are so many dumb drivers out here. And because of that, drivers, any single driver would ruin my day. They would just empty my patience. Like, it would just go one sudden movement. I would snap, I would yell at them, I would honk at them, whatever you call it. I drive for a living, so I'm on the road, not 24/7, but I'm on the road a lot. And thankfully, in my 6 years of driving for rideshare companies, not one accident, thankfully. Now, yes, I can say, yes, I'm a great driver, and I'm not trying to brag, but yes, I'm a great driver. But there are a lot of people out here that do not know how to drive, and that one person would take away my patience, and I'll just lose it. And I've noticed a change in that. I've noticed how I react now when somebody that does the same thing, because it's like a video game to me. It's the same maneuvers people make. Never fails. So I've noticed a change. I've noticed the way I react now and the way I used to react before in a lot of situations, with friends, with family members that, you know, you can get into like quick arguments with, you know, just the way you react to that, it all changes. Like I said, you think about what you're gonna say. It's just different. I can't explain how it works, how the changes work, but the changes happen, you know. And I think this is just scratching the surface. Remember one thing, you who are watching this, who is listening to me right now, you have a very powerful mind. You are a very strong being. You're very powerful. Remember that we are created in God's image. You gotta stop and think about that for a second. What that means to be created in a God's image. It's a very big and powerful thing that we are unaware of. People say, how can we fix the world? The way that the world can be fixed is by fixing ourselves first. I believe if we all look into each other and we all fix each other and work on each other first, then we can be able to do anything we want with the world and make it a better place. But the change must start inside of you first. The change doesn't come from the inside. It's never gonna happen. Change doesn't come from the outside. The only thing that comes from the outside are distractions, disruptions, backtracks, setbacks. That's what comes in. And those are changes. Those are changes, but those are not the changes that we're looking for, right? Those are just setbacks. You need to change inside first. And give that a try. Start off with positive affirmation for yourself. You're gonna love it.